Greetings and salutations. It is I, Mr. Nothing, the museum curator of the weird and the strange and the host who might be a ghost. Welcome back to Around the Weird 8 BookTube channel, where I talk about all the unusual and out of the ordinary literature that I've found in my travels. Today, it is December 31st, as I'm talking about this video, or as I'm talking, right now. New Year's Eve, not New Year's Steve, as they say. And so we're about to enter January 2021. And so I don't want to talk about a specific book that I read, but rather do a wrap up in TBR for what I read in December and what I plan to read in January. I read a great deal in December. I think it's because I'm reading comic books now that I'm getting a lot more read, quite a bit read. But I guess that's how it goes. And I have a lot planned for January that I'm pretty excited for. So without further ado, let's get to it. I will do the wrap up, then the TBR. So here we go. So in December, I read quite a bit, as I previously mentioned, including a number of books. Which, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 or so books that I read, quite a bit. So what did I read? Well, I read Death of the Stacys, which was a comic collection that arranged the deaths of George Stacy and the deaths of Gwen Stacy, combined them together and threw them at the reader. I enjoyed it. Early Spider-Man is kind of weird because Peter Parker looks like a total doof. Doesn't really strike me as the definitive Peter Parker, in my opinion. But I really liked it. In my video, I was kind of unfair because I said it wasn't that significant because other comics were doing the same thing at the time, getting more of an edge and becoming a little bit darker. And while I do think that's still kind of true, this comic should not be understated. Like, the death of Gwen Stacy was a significant event in comic books because it represented the first time that a character died because of the irresponsibility or the actions on the part of a hero. Like Spider-Man's web swinging, like, it wasn't enough to save Gwen Stacy, and in fact, it might have killed Gwen Stacy because it snapped her neck, and that's on Spider-Man. It's mostly on Green Goblin because he did in fact toss her off of the bridge, but it's still on Spider-Man too, and it's like this is significant because usually deaths only happened in origin stories, and superheroes were able to save the day no problem. But the death of the Stacy shows that you could use the death of a character to progress a character in some way. Although some comic books have taken that too far and have made it a central motif of progressing their male characters at the expense of their female characters. But that's another problem entirely. Still, great that I read this, and I'm happy that I read this. Another thing that I read was the book of Unknown Americans by Cristina Henriquez. It was a fine book. I don't have much to say about it. It talked about. It seems like a significant time capsule for how we viewed immigration during the Obama years, but. And we're in 2020, the end of the Trump presidency, and immigration does not look the same, and it's not. It wasn't to my fancy. I felt like Cristina Henriquez didn't have enough to say in her book. I also read Arkham Asylum, A Serious House on a Serious Earth. It was amazing. One of the best comic books that I read. I like Grant Morrison and McKean, who did the art. Pretty solid work. Just a different vibe from that comic than anything else I've read before. And I would say worth checking out if you're interested in Batman comics. Just the depiction of Joker alone is wild, and so I do recommend this comic in particular. I also read Timeline by Michael Crichton. It was lots of fun, very compelling. Michael Crichton often gets in his own way by trying to explain the science in his books, even though the science doesn't hold up. And so, like, it's kind of wonky at times, but it's still a lot of fun. And I like the characters, even if they weren't completely fleshed out. I also read season of Mist by it was the fourth volume in the Sandman series. Pretty fun. I loved the story where Dream gets control of Hell, and so now he has to figure, what am I going to do with Hell now? Like, what the hell am I going to do? But it was a lot of fun. The best in the series so far, I think. But I'm only 4 volumes in, and I can't wait to see what else is out there. I also read R.L. Mazes by Other People's Pets. It was a lot of fun. Pretty good. Mazes is a pretty wonderful author at creating sort of magical realist settings and also turning nonsense into something that's completely feasible, like a pet like an animal empath who starts robbing houses to pay for her father's uh, uh, bail bonds and his upcoming trial. Like that sounds pretty funny and pretty out of the ordinary, but like she makes it seem feasible within the story itself, and so that's what I love about Mazes' writing, and like it's really compelling. I also read Party Princess by Meg Cabot. It's pretty bad. I don't have much else to say about it. Not looking forward to reading the other books in the series because this series is so bad. Meg Cabot is a terrible author, and I don't know how many times I can say it, but I got to keep saying it so that other people are aware. I also read Reincarnation Blues by Michael Poore. It felt very different and a lot of fun. A story about a person living 10,000 lives and trying to learn something about perfection while living those lives was a lot of fun. The sort of epilogue of the story where the main character spends the rest of his life with someone is pretty beautiful and worth the price of admission. But there's a lot of other good things about the book that are worth checking out. And if you're into Buddhism at all, maybe you'll get a lot more out of the book than I did. Like I'm pretty knowledgeable about Buddhism, but not as much as other people. And so if you're at all even like acutely aware, you might get something. So worth checking out in my opinion. I also read Court of Owls by Scott Snyder. It's a Batman comic. I'm not a big fan of it just because I don't like the New 52, and also I'm not a big fan of the Court of Owls in general, just because they didn't seem like a huge threat to Batman. The Talons seemed like a huge threat, but the Court of Owls themselves are just people wearing masks, and like their only tool in their armory is apparently a big strong man who Batman can defeat. So not a whole lot going on for them. Apparently, other people really love the Court of Owls series, so I'm going to continue reading it, try to figure out why. But the first volume didn't wow me in particular, which is unfortunate, I guess. But I'm not going to love every single Batman comic that I read, which is a terrible thing to think about, but one that is true. I also read the last book I read for this month is A Game of You, which is the fifth volume of the Sandman series. I thought it was pretty boring and incoherent plot-wise. It didn't have a lot going on for it, and I didn't like that Dream only showed up for a small bit of it. He felt inconsequential in his own story, and I don't think that this volume 5 is that good overall. I felt the same way about volume 2, A Doll's House. It just felt like the story was going nowhere, and whenever the story isn't focused on Dream, it just feels like nonsense, and it's not. It wasn't my favorite, so that was unfortunate. But I am looking forward to reading other volumes in this series because hopefully this is just the low point, and everything else is of better quality from here on out. I did read a number of short stories throughout this month. The Gift of the Magi, which is pretty good, by O. Henry, a classic story about the true meaning of Christmas. One that I think everyone should check out because it's a it's a classic for a reason. It tells its story without going too far, and it's pretty fun to read and get to the end and find out, oh, these people sacrificed something that of their own so that they could share their love with one another. It's pretty beautiful. Also, How the Grinch Stole Christmas by Dr. Seuss. A lot of fun. It's a classic, and you can see why it's a classic. Dr. Seuss's illustrations are pretty zany, and the story is pretty simple and understandable. And I'm a big fan of it. I also read the Definite Article by Ally Smith from her collection, Public Library. I wasn't a big fan of it. It had a very stream of consciousness type of writing style that I could not get into. And it felt very boring. It was just a person, going through a park and remarking about their life, but their life didn't seem that interesting. And the book as a whole, Public Library, was kind of disappointing. So, not a whole lot to really talk about there. And I guess I don't recommend it to you out there in the world. I also read You Don't Miss Your Water Until the Well Runs Dry by T.C. Boyle from his story collection, The Relive Box. I thought the book as a whole was pretty good, but You Don't Miss Your Water Until the Well Runs Dry was definitely worth talking about and worth reading. You can find it online in the literary journals or places like that. So I recommend if you want to read that on its own to check it out, and you can pay some money to read it. Yeah, definitely good. Definitely feels a little relevant to our time as this story was about a water shortage, and I feel like we're going to be talking more about water shortages in the near future. So that's unfortunate. And then lastly I read The Ones Who Walk Away from Amelis by Ursula Le Guin, a pretty awesome short story. Maybe the best short story that I read this month. Very thought-provoking about utopia and the sacrifices that have to be made to achieve utopia, and how it kind of relates to our modern society, even if Ursula Le Guin didn't, maybe she didn't mean to reflect on our modern society. But it's pretty apparent that if you think about it, like all the sacrifices that we think are necessary to achieve a better society, maybe don't make our society that great in the first place. So a lot to think about there, and I definitely recommend that you go check it out on your own because it's a really unusual and again thought-provoking short story that is very compelling. I also read a number of poems like November by Maggie Dietz and Christmas Eve by Kathy Song. Both great poems, as well as the other poems that I checked out. All of the poems that I read on Poetry Thursday are pretty fun because, I sought them out and I enjoyed them. So I thought I'd, catalog them. So it's no bad poems because, of course, I only feature the best poems. Now, for my TBR, what do I plan on reading in January? Well, let's find out. I checked out a book from my local library by Joshua Ferris called Then We Came to the End, about a business that is downsizing, maybe even closing down, and the way it affects some of the workers. I checked it out at random, so I don't know much about it, and I can't wait to learn more. That's coming a bit later in January. I'm also currently reading In Dubious Battle by John Steinbeck. That was on my things that I wanted to get through in 2021, so I'm already working on the list. It's pretty solid so far. It's John Steinbeck, so it's always good prose and interesting to view how he sees the world and how he incorporates socialism and communism into his writing. I also plan on reading The End of Everything, astrophysically speaking, by Katie Mack. That was also on my list of things I wanted to read. It's nonfiction, so something different for this channel. But I can't wait to read it and just learn more about uh, space and how the universe eventually ends. I also checked out Batman and Robin Reborn from my local library. Can't wait to read it and learn more about another Grant Morrison comic, so I'm looking forward to that. But apparently, it takes place after Final Crisis in the DC continuity, where Batman has apparently died, and so Dick Grayson takes up the mantle of Batman, while Damian Wayne takes up the mantle of Robin, and that's how that progresses. I also checked out the sixth volume in the Sandman series, or the fifth one, I think it is. Fables and Recollections, or something like that. Very interested in reading that because the Sandman series is usually pretty good. I also want to read the third Artemis Fowl book, which I think I said I wanted to read last month, but I never got around to. And of course, the next volume in the Princess Diaries series. I just want to get through it already, please. This is so painful, but it's got to be done. If I don't do it, nobody will, and that can't happen. There's also a number of short stories that I want to read for this month. This includes The Accomplished Guest, which is a short story collection by BT. It's over there, so I can't exactly see it. But yeah, I'll be talking about this probably on the 4th, uh, which is a Tuesday, I believe. So yeah, look out for that. Thank You, Ma'am by Langston Hughes, which should be a lot of fun. Jury of Her Peers by Susan Glaspell. I don't know who Susan Glaspell is, but I just looked up short stories on Google, and that's one that popped up. So I'm absolutely going to check that out. And then probably more short stories that'll be library pickups. So that's how that usually goes. And if you have any good ideas for short stories from maybe new authors, or classic short stories that you think I'll like, comment below. I would love to hear from you, and we can talk more about those short stories. And then the last one are the poems. I've already have one that I was going to talk about today, but I decided to forego Poetry Thursday on the final Thursday of the year. And so next week I'll be talking about Dear Proofreader by a poet whose name I've already forgotten, unfortunately. But look out for that and other poems in January. It should be tons of fun. And then that's all I have planned. Probably some stuff here and there that I'll fit into January. Should be a lot of fun. Should be except for the next installment of the Princess Diaries series, which I'm not looking forward to. I don't know why I'm making myself read it. But that's beyond the point. So now, yeah, those are what I have planned, and as well, that's what I've read over the past month. If you have anything to say about this, let me know in the comments. If you have anything to recommend, again, let me know in the comments. Let's have a discussion about this. Otherwise, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so that we can, other people can recommend some things. And in the meantime, I wish you the best of luck in your weird and January travels. Farewell.